So, first of all, Merry Day After Christmas. Strovil looks like Santa. Don't look at the picture. The picture is meaningless at the moment. I went on a long walk just a little bit ago after lunch, and this weekend when I go and talk to, my gaming group, I want to talk to my DM there because while both of us are the kind of DM that prefer to just run published modules because we already know all the work's done and we're busy otherwise, I think he would kind of get a kick out of a Western Marches / sandbox Trocare kind of game. Or at the very least, he would probably like the idea of it. And so I was just kind of going over my head real quick, what to tell him. And I realized that you could easily start, and I might very well have mentioned this. I may very well have mentioned this in the video when I was describing Sandbox Trocare. But as far as a setup, you could even just have the PCs be on the very first boat that lands to establish the very first colony. And so the boat shows up and it puts, anchor in the harbor. And the PCs are the ones who row the boat ashore and make sure that, the land is safe real quick. I mean, this part, just the immediate area is safe. And it should be. I don't think they should be attacked literally off the boat. The first rowboat that puts to shore should be attacked. But anyway, then you can have the PCs right there involved in helping to clear out the land and helping to actually plan and establish the town. I mean, while the ship is still in the harbor, they put the boat out. They have to explore a little bit and make sure that the area where they're landing right now is a very good place to land. And so you can immediately have adventure right off the bat. There is, of course, the safe area then would be the boat, where they would have to get in their rowboat and go all the way back to the boat at night if they didn't want to make camp on land. And they can help in planning the town and finding resources and all that. And so mostly I'm mentioning this because we're playing through an adventure path right now that Paizo put out. And I wish I could remember the name of it, but I don't. But anyway, in this game, you're on the border of these wild lands, and the PCs before I got here, they had already cleared out some area and established a kingdom, their own country, and so now they go and explore the lands around the lands they already control, and they take over those lands and they build up towns and they invest resources and stuff like that, and it's kind of cool. The game is one half regular D&D, and then there's these, at the end of every session, there's this section where we do sort of upkeep on our kingdom. And that's my cell phone ringing, so I'll be right back. And that was my best friend's family inviting me over sometime in the next week, which is awesome, because I want to see them too. It also means I've completely forgotten where I was. Oh, I know I was talking about the campaign. Half D&D, adventuring, killing monsters, getting treasure. Half kingdom building, like playing Sim City or something. You're actually buying buildings, and buildings give you bonuses, and there's a whole subsystem devoted to kingdom building. That all doesn't have to happen, but I do think if the players were right there at the beginning, they were on that first boat to establish a colony. They were the ones who explored the shoreline. They were the ones who chose, or at least helped choose, a site. They were the ones who helped plan the city, and they were the ones who defended it and cleared out areas and helped establish homesteads and farmland and all that stuff. I mean, it sounds kind of stupid if I'm like, oh, it helps establish farmland by, cutting down trees. No, they go out and they're killing monsters. They're making the land safe. Things like that. I think there would be more player investment, but then you would definitely have to have the players in a leadership role, kind of like that kingdom. Because I know a lot of players would kind of take umbrage. Take umbrage with the fact that, they're doing all this work and yet someone else is given the orders. They would want to at least be on equal footing. They're going to want special privileges. If you've played D&D, especially if you've been a DM, the kinds of things players are going to be like. If the guy who's in charge doesn't want to give in to the PC's demands, the PCs are just going to totally let the town go to crap. It's like, yeah, we'll stop defending you unless you decide to pay us more. That's the way PCs work. Anyway, the second option, the second thing I was thinking about while walking, is how, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the video where I was talking about Recettear and the economy. I probably didn't mention Recettear by name. Actually, it's called Recettear, but blah. We were talking about the economy and how there could be like a magic item shop or, you know, a curio shop where the PCs could bring back these interesting items from out in the wilderness, and this guy would sell it for them. You know, arrange for it to be sold, and there was that whole economy issue. If I hadn't mentioned it in that video or in a previous video, gold is kind of useless in some of these kinds of campaigns. If you're in this colony and you're in the New World and nothing is coming over from the Empire, you know, you only have what's in your vicinity, who the heck is going to accept gold as a method of payment when you need food and shelter and water and things like that? A more barter-based system might take over. Because unless somebody decides that they're going to accept gold as a unit of currency, and in fact, not just someone, but everybody has to basically accept gold as a unit of currency. Otherwise, you need to focus on giving people the basic necessities. I have chickens, you have cows. I will give you eggs for milk. That's the kind of system that goes on. However, now this is going back to the regular Wyndhaven idea, where it's an already established colony. You can immediately have a gold-based system, because in that level, they already have some communication back with the Empire. They already have the ability for some guy to set up a curio shop and sell stuff. And obviously, he's going to sell it to them for gold for himself, but he wouldn't do that unless the gold was doing him any good here. Although he could, I guess, sell it to them and then have his broker back in the Empire take the gold, buy useful stuff, and send it back. That's fine, too. Anyway, in the early stages, when gold is kind of meaningless and the PCs can find piles of gold out in the wilderness and it does them no good back in town, except playing off of stereotypes, and now this is where the picture comes in, you can have the greedy dwarf, you know, the stereotypical greedy dwarf, who maybe he just arrived, maybe he's been there, well, probably not a good idea to have him be there forever. Have there be, like, you know, a human blacksmith for a while, and then a dwarven blacksmith shows up, you know, coming over to the New World. He's too new that he doesn't quite get the barter system, but he's a dwarf, and he knows gold is gold, and gold is good. And so he will take gold for stuff. There's an easy way to introduce players, allow them to spend gold, and get, because he's a blacksmith, they can get good weapons and good armor and other equipment from him for gold. The other option, and as I was thinking of the dwarf idea, one, it adds a little bit of a flavor. There's no reason not to let the PCs spend gold. Gold is just such an easy system to use. And even if you didn't have that, players are going to be opening up the handbook and looking at equipment lists and comparing, oh, well, normally a longsword's 15 gold, so I should be able to get, you know, 15 one gold piece backpacks for the same amount. You know, or at least they're going to look for that similar. So why, you know, why just dispense with all that entirely and just go with the gold system, since it's so much easier? And the point of the game isn't the bartering. The point of the game is the adventuring. So adding the dwarf, you know, and he's the guy who accepts the gold because he's a dwarf. Obviously, they love gold, and he's a blacksmith, so obviously you can buy equipment. The other thing I was thinking of is you could then also have maybe some nobles, or at least some of the upper class from the Empire. Maybe some people were put out, maybe they kind of ran out of money, maybe they were disgraced back home and they've come over. But because they're old money, as it were, they accept gold just on a matter of principle. They know it's pretty much worthless, but they're going to take gold because, gosh darn it, that's just what we do. That's just what we do. Alright, right before I end this video, since that's pretty much all I wanted to mention was the gold thing and the you can found a colony right from the beginning thing. Isn't that a cool dwarf picture? It looks like they're fighting with keys. I mean, it's a nice. I like the axe. I like how angular everything is with the axe. When I think dwarves, I don't think curves. I think blocky. And I like how this axe is very blocky. Everything's straight. Even the piece of wood you can see is just squared off on all sides. There's no smoothness. There's no curvature to it. And that just hits dwarf with me really well. And I like this design for goblins or hobgoblins or orcs or whatever the heck kind of monster this is. I just like this kind of face. That's what I think of when I think of humanoid monsters. All right, until next time, bye-bye.